The control of Congress is in question this morning as we await some results from key races. The balance could have a big impact on a number of geopolitical issues that are important to businesses and to investors. And joining us right now to talk about that is Michelle Caruso-Cabrera, our CNBC contributor. Michelle, I don't know if you could hear that conversation that we just had with Bill Daley and Judd Gregg, but they set up how difficult it is going to be to govern. Because no one's going to have a very strong lead in this. It looks like, at least at this point, that the Republicans will take control, but not by much. And what does that mean from a governing perspective?
Yeah, certainly the polls that predicted a Republican wave were not accurate. And so, to their point, what's interesting when it comes to one particular piece of legislation that could affect investors, it's far more likely to pass now with a new Congress for the simple reason that a key member of the Senate has retired. And now that that person is gone, regardless of who replaces him, and I'm talking about Pat Toomey, that there is this piece of legislation that many believe could actually happen. It's a reverse CFIUS process. We know CFIUS is the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. That's when an entity in a foreign country wants to buy something in the U.S. There's a review process. Well, what if you did that in the reverse? If a U.S. company or a U.S. investor wants to invest in China, what if there was a process that also held that up by 45 days? Meaning
the default would be you couldn't invest until you got permission to invest, rather than you think you can invest until they say no?
Exactly. So this has broad bipartisan support. Think Sherrod Brown out of Ohio, John Cornyn out of Texas, dramatically, diametrically opposed on many issues. On this, they are together. The holdup has been, according to people I've spoken to on the Hill, is Pat Toomey, a senator from Pennsylvania who's just retired. We now see that John Fetterman is going to take his place. But simply him not being there could mean that we're actually going to see this legislation passed. So that would be significant. It's going to be significant areas that the U.S. is concerned about related to national security if it were to pass. So things like large capacity batteries, AI, quantum computing, and of course, semiconductors, which has already received a lot of scrutiny from the Biden administration.
The relationship with China has been pretty fraught for quite a while. We know that if Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House, as it looks as likely, that he has said that he will travel to Taiwan. Nancy Pelosi just did that. How is this any different?
I don't think it is different. I just think it could be one of those moments that the Chinese try to make, a moment of, even though we should point out that there have been 5 delegations of congressional legislators that have gone to Taiwan. But certainly McCarthy has made very clear that he wants to make China an issue. There's lots of other political issues that are likely going to be, we're going to hear about when it comes to hearings, et cetera. But when it comes to foreign policy, definitely Taiwan, him making an issue of Taiwan even bigger than perhaps Nancy Pelosi did. And she made it a really big issue because it's important to her constituents. And he's also talking about creating a new committee that would be investigating various things related to China, whether it's the creation of the what caused the virus, what are the Chinese doing when it comes to stealing intellectual property from the United States. So even though it's a small majority, the heat on China will be higher and hotter because we have a Republican majority now that will be able to do investigations in a way that they haven't been able to do before.